A lot of big headlines in our world, Vlad. Thank you. Palestinian statehood, one of the top topics as world leaders gather for the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The big question, what will be the position of the United States in meetings that could shape the future of the people in the Palestinian world and around the globe? Also, over the weekend, the UK, Canada, Australia, and Portugal joined choruses to formally recognize the Palestinian state. Well, today, France and 5 other countries are expected to do exactly the same thing. Here's French President Emmanuel Macron speaking with Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan on that very topic. Listen.
We will announce a recognition, but which is the beginning of a political process and a peace and security plan for everybody. So right after this recognition, we have a first phase, which is, I would say, the emergency phase. Ceasefire, release of all hostages, and third, restoring the humanitarian roads and the stabilization of Gaza. We have a second package, which is the day after. We will revert on that, how to organize Gaza in terms of governance, security, and reconstruction. And third package, the perspective of the 2 states. But recognizing a Palestinian state today is the only way to provide a political solution to a situation which has to stop.
So let's break this down quite a bit. Live to the State Department and CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis. Great to have you with us this morning. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says today there will be no Palestinian state. So how does this, if any way, change things on the ground?
Yeah, you're right, Reed, that without the buy-in of Israel and the United States, there's unlikely to be significant differences coming out of this effort, and there may be some new challenges thrown up. Prime Minister Netanyahu has vowed an Israeli response. He's called these unilateral instances of recognition an enormous prize for Hamas. We know that Israel has been accelerating settlement building in the West Bank, and that some politicians there have been vocally calling for it to be annexed. But what you heard from the French president, who will be joined by his co-chair, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is a renewed effort in support of a dialogue, at least in support of a 2-state solution, which he and other leaders have warned has waned too much. There needs to be increased pressure on Israel before it's too late, and if this conflict is to be brought to a sustainable close. We do know that President Trump is expected to meet with Muslim and Arab leaders in New York this week, but there will be no face-to-face dialogue with Palestinian leadership. The U.S. has barred any of their representatives from attending the UN General Assembly this year.
Well, it really gives you pause. I was just looking at that color-coded map that we had on the screen that shows who supports and who does not support. And it really begs the question, could at this point in history the U.S. soon find itself the only permanent UN Security Council member to not recognize a Palestinian state? And then how does that shift things at the UN?
Sure, yes. Normally you hear about holdouts Russia and China who are permanent members. They have already recognized a Palestinian state. Yesterday, the United Kingdom did so, and today, France is expected to. So that leaves, yes, the U.S. as the only permanent member of the UN Security Council to not do so, along with 140 other countries who already do so. It had been the U.S. policy to support a 2-state solution for decades, provided that a 2-state solution was arrived at by direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians, not these unilateral declarations of recognition. That is now much more opaque. We have heard in recent weeks that the focus is on President Trump's insistence that this conflict be brought to a close, that hostages be released, that a ceasefire take hold. Those ceasefire and hostage negotiations abruptly ended after Israel carried out its strike on Doha, Qatar. You'll remember, Reed, a couple of weeks ago. The U.S. has asked the Qataris to resume that mediating role. They have not yet agreed to do so.
Olivia Gazis laying it all out as we look for a big week of headlines ahead there from the UN. Thank you so much.